And this event, I do believe, will be an event that will bend the curve of history towards a more inclusive and shared, prosperous future. I have no doubt that this summit will go down in history as a watershed moment, a moment when nations came together to avert an education catastrophe that would have set us back significantly all the gains that we have made over the past decades. I am indeed proud to have co-hosted this historic GPE replenishment campaign together with Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And today, as we have just heard, we not only raise our hands in support to education, but we also walk with our heads held high, confident that we will indeed reach our target of raising $5 billion for education by 2025. Congratulations to you all. Well done. Thank you very much. These resources will provide catalytic support to get more than 175 million boys and girls in school. It will help to enroll 88 million more children in school, including 46 million more girls, and also protect 2 million girls from child marriages, essentially helping us to deliver on the promise of education as a social economic development. We have reason to celebrate this afternoon, for this summit marks an important milestone in our collective efforts to support education systems globally. The world has come together to demonstrate the power of unity, the power of holding hands, or in our case, raising hands, towards a shared global objective to rebuild stronger, strengthen, and to transform education systems and reimagine the future together. I want to thank the Global Partnership for Education, led by our dear friend, former Prime Minister Gillard, a partnership that has provided a platform to strengthen education systems and to improve education outcomes for all children across the globe. The GPE role remains central as we work towards rebuilding and strengthening education systems globally, as we reimagine education, as we build on lessons learned from the COVID-19 pandemic, strengthen the quality of our education systems, and strive to achieve inclusiveness in access to education. I would also like to thank our GPE donor countries and partners for ensuring GPE is sufficiently funded, even in the face of economic contraction. Your investment demonstrates great foresight that recognizes the fundamental role of education in a shared future. To my fellow developing country partners, I am proud that we have remained unshaken in our dedication to finance education for future generations despite the tough economic situation. I want to thank all countries that have endorsed the 2021 call for action on domestic education financing, and indeed those that have endorsed and actioned the statement also in the near future. These endorsements are a critical step towards being the masters of our own destiny, driving the change that we want to see for our respective countries. Let us keep investing in education through increased domestic resource allocation, and let us continue to enact policies that support the education sector and strive to adopt digital learning technologies in our schools. And let us ensure that all our girls get an equal opportunity to learn for the benefit of our common future. Let us remember that even though money is necessary for transforming our education systems, it alone is not sufficient. A deliberate, committed drive towards ensuring that each dollar investment impacts quality and holistic education for our children is equally as vital. Kenya is proud to be leading the way into the resolve to deliver more and better domestic resources towards education. Kenya, and as we have heard, 18 other countries have already endorsed the 2021 call to action on domestic financing and actioned its recommendation by dedicating 26% of our national budgets to the education sector. I want to encourage all countries to do so that while prioritizing the principle of volume, equity, and efficiency, we continue to put education forward. Quality education systems cannot be realized without enhanced domestic finance, and the focus, therefore, is on governments to deliver unequivocally on this mandate. Let me also say that one of my favorite moments during the duration of this campaign was our virtual school tour that I held with Prime Minister Boris Johnson, for it gave me great and immense joy to see children back in school after nearly 1 year of school closures, and it was also exciting to witness the power of digital technology as our Kenyan children engage with their peers here in the United Kingdom. I envision a future where such engagements are not going to be the exemption, but the rule. A learning experience that embraces technology and harnesses it to its full power. We imagine a world where every child has access to digital technology as a tool to learn as much as they wish and to experience the world from the comfort of their classrooms or their homes. And that is why one of my main messages throughout this campaign has been the advancement of EdTech through scaling up investments and efforts towards digitized learning. Empirical evidences abound, demonstrating that increased school connectivity yields long-run social economic benefits. Indeed, as reported, a 10% increase in school connectivity can increase the effective years of school for a child by 0.6% and increase our GDPs per capita by 1.1%. Given that schools serve as community assets, greater economic benefits also accrue for the local community, broadening the social impact of such technology. It is a fact that much of the responsibility to advance education systems lies with governments. But it is also a fact that there are quite a good number of non-governmental actors who have and continue to play a critical role complementing government efforts in advancing education, and I would like to take some time to acknowledge them. From the multilaterals that continue to work hand in hand with governments to strengthen investment in education, to civil society who carry out sustained advocacy and direct investments in education, as well as the private sector who are playing an increasing role in supporting global education, and lastly to our youth leaders who continue to demonstrate admirable leadership and dedication towards advancing the education agenda. You all remain key partners on this journey, and I encourage each and every one of you to sustain your support as we strive to achieve our SDG 4. Lastly, I would like to convey my utmost gratitude to all the silent heroes over the last year and a half, our teachers, for their dedicated efforts in helping our children shape their future, and particularly in supporting learners during this pandemic. Your devotion has been tested, but you have remained committed and resilient in the face of unparalleled challenges. On behalf of everyone here, and especially on behalf of the most important constituency who are sitting behind our gathering, that of our children, I want to say simply thank you to all our teachers. As we travel back to our respective countries, my request to each and every one of you is to sustain action towards achieving the goal that has brought us here today. We are at an inflection point, which requires targeted, urgent, and sustained interventions. The actions that we take henceforth have the power to transform lives, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, a chance that we simply cannot afford to lose. A bountiful harvest awaits us all if our nations continue to prioritize education.
And the people we really need to thank and the people we really need to think about are the teachers across the world. The teachers across the world who make or everybody in this room will probably have somebody that you can think of was the teacher who made a difference to your life, who encouraged you, who gave you confidence. Can you think of one, Julia? Mr. Crow, there you go. Well, Julia would not be here without Mr. Crow. Let's hear it from Mr. Crow. Uhuru, I seem to remember. Do you remember when we did that lesson with your pupils in Nairobi? What was the name of it? Mrs. Simpson, Mrs. Roos, and she taught you mathematics. That's right. Well, Uhuru would not be the brilliant president of Kenya without Mrs. Roos, who taught him mathematics. And I owe a lot to all my teachers, but I think in particular of a guy called Mr. Fox when I was about 10 years old, and he took me into the library, and I don't know whether he thought I was in need of remedial help, or whether he thought I had potential. It was never clear to me, but he said, I want you to read these books, and it made a fantastic difference and a lasting difference to my life. So I just want to say that the best thing about this summit here today is that we are supporting with huge injections of cash those amazing people across the world who are inspiring young people to think that they can concede. This GPE, this Global Partner for Education meeting is completely different because this is the silver bullet. This is the magic potion. This is the panacea. This is the universal cure. This is the Swiss Army knife, complete with Allen key and screwdriver and everything else, that can solve virtually every problem that afflicts humanity. And I'm absolutely serious. If you educate the world, then of course, educate the world properly, educate the world fairly, then of course you end a great natural injustice. But you also, and if you end the injustice that 9 out of 10 people, 9 out of 10 10-year-olds cannot read a story around the country. 132 million kids aren't in school. Or in many of the countries represented here, alas, there are too few girls in school, and there is a gross disparity in the education of boys and girls. And if you end that injustice, and you give every girl in the world the same education as every boy, 12 years of quality education, then you perform the most fantastic benefits for humanity. You lift life expectancy, you lift per capita GDP, you deal with infant mortality, and if you educate people properly in the way that they deserve, then of course you end, or you help to end, all kinds of ignorance and prejudice. And you end also, by educating people, you help to end all the things that ignorance and prejudice helps to create. So you deal with terrorism and with war and extremism, and you help people to tackle climate change. And so I'm immensely proud of the achievements of this GPE summit.
It's what gives millions of girls hope and ambition for the future, to become scientists who will make the next miraculous discovery, cure a disease, or help mitigate the worst effects of climate change. to become economists or teachers or entrepreneurs who will contribute to the prosperity of their communities and the upward progress of their countries. That is education's promise and GPE's commitment to the world's children. GPE has come so far in our nearly 2 decades of work. Today, we've taken another leap forward. Together, we will get the job done for children like Carolina and so many millions more. And now, of course, the moment you've been waiting for all day, and let me record for you now what we have jointly achieved at this summit. Today, we have heard record-breaking commitments of international, domestic and private funding for education. By bringing all of these commitments together, the Global Education Summit, under the leadership of the UK and Kenya, has provided the single largest boost to children's learning in the world's lowest income countries. As of this moment, 18 heads of state have endorsed a global call to action on domestic financing to education, the Kenyatta Declaration. Together, the countries endorsing this statement are committing up to $192 billion in domestic spending on education for the next 5 years. President Kenyatta, thank you. Thank you for your efforts on this declaration. These endorsements are a game changer and represent an unprecedented level of commitment and political will to prioritising the financing of education. Leaders from business, private foundations and development banks have rallied like never before. They've mobilised more than $1.1 billion towards innovative financing instruments that provide catalytic capital alongside GPE investments to partner countries. The business community and private foundations collectively amassed $128 million at the summit in contributions to the GPE fund and co-financing. Private sector partners launched 2 new public-private partnerships valued at more than $6 million. And the figure you've been waiting for, donors have pledged over $4 billion to GPE's Raise Your Hand campaign. This includes the largest single donor pledge ever made to GPE from the European Union. It includes the UK government's largest ever pledge to GPE. It includes increased contributions from Middle Eastern donors, and it includes the single biggest pledge a private foundation has ever made to GPE, and that is from our friends at the Lego Foundation. We have welcomed 4 new donors into the partnership and 2 donors back. 4 new donors and 2 donors have been welcomed back. This is a record-breaking result for GPE and puts us firmly on the path to achieving our target of raising at least US $5 billion for the next 5 years. The progress we've made today is so vital, but our work is by no means done. The final lap of this marathon will be one that we need to travel together. Addressing the scale of the challenges before us will require new donors joining the partnership, existing donors continuing to lead, and partner countries implementing their commitments, and civil society and youth advocates continuing to energise us and mobilise us. I can assure you, GPE is up for the challenge. We have the tools, the knowledge and the ability to transform education and help every girl and boy reach their full potential. And we simply could not do this without the unyielding support of teachers, civil society organisations and every constituency represented here today. The real question is, do we have the will? The will to prevent the pandemic's economic fallout from shrinking domestic education budgets. The will to seize this once-in-a-generation opportunity to unlock the future we want for children, for every single one of them, whether they go to school in a classroom in Bangladesh or learn in a refugee camp in Uganda, or go to school in a rural classroom, like 9-year-old Carolina, whom we saw here on the video earlier today and who dreams of becoming a journalist. A quality education is what will give her the opportunity to achieve this dream.